and stuff that were done, you probably heard of like Chemical Ali, like the brother, I didn't think it was like a brother or brother-in-law of Saddam, who actually practiced chemical warfare on the Kurdish people and killed women and children. And I mean, it was so sad to see what some of these people have been through. The Kurdish population itself is kind of sad because Kurdistan doesn't exist except for in the hearts and minds of the people that are living there. And they have these maps and flags of Kurdistan, but Kurdistan's not a recognized country. It's a people without a home, a nation without a country. And that's eye-opening and wow, talk about some crazy world problems. We have no idea what that's like here in the United States. We have so many freedoms and culturally. So I was going to tell a story about we were moving those linguists, and we were cleaning out the old area, and there were in that room there was a unit that was there with soldiers, and then the linguists were kind of there with them. And so one of the female soldiers before had like a box with like some tampons in it. Okay, and I know that this is a little awkward story, but I had told them that we just need to clean everything out. And so one of the guy linguists was like, I think these belong to you, and was chastising the female linguists, and they were horrified because they didn't know what it was. They had taken out like the little, there's like an instruction booklet and like every single one. They had taken it out, opened up a tampon, had like, they had literally no idea what this was supposed to be. And I had to give some ladies who were older than me like talk about using tampons. Very uncomfortable. And they were horrified, like just absolutely mortified, because nobody should go up there but your husband, right? And so it was like, and young girls use these too? Like it was crazy. So very memorable because I was like red-faced, embarrassed, trying to explain like what this is and how it's used, and like doing the whole tutorial, like showing like how it functions. Oh gosh, it was they were just mortified, and I was like, wow, this is a different country. It's a whole different world. And yeah, I explained that, girls is at 13, 14, yeah, that was just, oh my gosh, so different.
And how long did you end up staying in Iraq?
I was there for a little over a year. We got extended, and I can't remember how much longer, but it was just a little bit. It wasn't that bad, but like a year.
And when you left, how did you, what were your feelings, emotions when you had to leave?
I really had grown close with a lot of people, and I was worried about us leaving and this disruption. I knew there were more people that were coming in, but there was always word that we were going to pull out of Iraq, and it just seemed like things were still unstable and worrisome, and so I worried about the people I was leaving behind, the linguists that I had worked with and grown to love and got to know their families and everything. I worried about them, what would happen. So coming back to the United States, it's you don't realize that you get used to this like constant, I want to say like balls to the walls, but that's what I say. Like it's constant, like everything is, you're in danger all the time. So you're like, and you're constantly doing things. And when you come back to the United States, it's like, I'm safe. And nobody had any patience. Like waiting in line at the grocery store, driving was it was like mind numbing. It's like, oh my God, why are people just getting out of my way? I got things to do. I've got places to go. And so going from like this like complete rush 24/7 to like this laid back, chill, I'm safe, everything's cool. It was really hard. And I was surprised at how hard it was. I remember they would fire the cannon off in the morning, like that was the tradition on our base. But that first time I heard it, I immediately sat up and I was looking for my weapon, like, this is go time, and I'm like, wait, I'm stateside. This is good. They're just about to play, Revelry, and we're gonna get up and it was just really, really, really different coming back. The pace of life.
So where'd you go after you came back from Iraq?
I came back. I was back in California at Fort Irwin, and shortly after I got out, once we got back and we were settled, I stayed for a couple months, but I didn't change around or anything because I knew I was going to be getting out soon.
Okay.
So mainly to be with my husband. That was we decided that either we're going to get together and make this work, or we were going to make career military lives, and we decided that our relationship was good. So, and I'm glad we did. But every now and then I miss it, and I'm like, maybe I should do it. I got a little bit more time. I could still enlist right now, but that time is becoming shorter and shorter every time I think about it. But so it's unlikely that I'd go back. But I did get out, and I went to Colorado Springs to go live with my husband at Fort Carson.
Good. And you've kind of mentioned it a few times, but what are your thoughts on being a woman in the U.S. Army? Is it difficult or easy? Or?
I think it's getting better every day. I think that, since the time that I got out, I think there's been some great strides in things. Like we always had these trainings about sexual harassment and everything, but, how well it was actually adhered to was, a totally different thing. I had some very uncomfortable situations while I was in the military that I totally inappropriate. And I think that nowadays those would have been looked at differently than they were back then, But I'm also lucky that I was in a military intelligence unit, where I think that I think maybe we were a bit more understanding and sympathetic towards one another, and we had more diversity than some other units. So like an infantry unit where you didn't have women, when I was in, for them who, you have these like sexual harassment, trainings, but you're never around women, so it's like they have it, but it goes through one ear and out the other. Whereas in units that are more blended, I think that there's a little bit higher understanding, and maybe but there were still moments where it was rough. My board for promotion was one of the most embarrassing, belittling things in my entire life. I actually had a command sergeant major tell me that if I was his daughter, he'd take me out back and show me a thing or two. I still don't know what that means, but I found that to be very derogatory and uncomfortable. When I left, you have to have a sponsoring NCO with you when you go towards the board. When we left, he was like, "Do you want to go to JAG?" Like I was totally blown away by the way that everything went, and mainly aimed at me because I was female, and the command just wasn't supporting, and I was afraid to go then to talk to somebody in the legal department. I wish I would have, in hindsight, because that guy he shouldn't have said that, and he shouldn't have been in charge of such a professional part of my career, really. So in hindsight, I wish I would have said something, but I decided not to. And there was a couple moments too where I right before I deployed, I was on a special detail where a sergeant, I think he was a staff sergeant. He was definitely a couple ranks above me, and we were all working on getting things packed up into the vehicles, and he dismisses everybody, but he says specifically, "Barnwell, I want you to stick around. I need to talk to you." And I'm thinking, oh, okay, did I pack something wrong? Did I, I'm thinking, what did I do? Why does the command sergeant major want me to stick around, or the staff sergeant want me to stand around? I don't really even know this guy. And basically he knew that our units were deploying together, and so he made a proposal that, hey, while we're both away from our significant others, why don't we hook up? And I mean, this is the person who's at that moment in charge of me, and it was, I didn't even know how to respond. I was so caught off guard, and I didn't even know. I had to ask clarifying questions. I was like, what do you mean? be friends? And I'm like, what do you mean? And no, he was literally suggesting that we should have sex because we're both going to be lonely, and this is a good way. It's good for both of us, And I'm like, you're in charge of me. And when I went back to my unit after I was down on that detail, I told the sergeants that were normally in charge of me, and they both laughed it off and said, "Oh, he's like that. He was just joking with you. He wasn't serious." But it was pretty dang serious when I was there. And he talked to me about one more time while we were in theater, and I said, "You know what my answer was the first time? It's not happening." But the fact that it was laughed off so easily, like that was hard, especially because these are the people that are, I did everything right, I told the right people, and, it's like, it's fine. Did he touch you? Well, no, he didn't touch me, but, like that would have made the big difference. I shouldn't be offended because he didn't rape me in the parking lot. It was, just a proposal of, sex. You said no, right? So it's all good. And I'm like, but that was totally inappropriate, but so yeah, it can be difficult, but I think it's getting better. I think just in society in general, we're getting better. Think about how many times in recent media that we hear about, the whole thing with Weinstein.